Welcome to Learn This Game, where you can learn about board games and how they are played. In this presentation, we'll be looking at SAUMRAI SPIRIT. In this video, there'll be a general description and overview of the game. We'll inventory the components, and we'll go through gameplay, including setup, sample turns, and victory conditions. There are helpful links in the description as well as a timestamp index. If you want to go straight to the setup and gameplay, you can go to the timestamp index now. And if you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. You can also leave a comment to share your experience or let us know what game you'd like to see reviewed. Your participation really does help this channel continue to grow and provide more content. SAUMRAI SPIRIT was first published by Funforge in 2014 and designed by Antoine Bauza. In this cooperative game, you are a samurai engaged by peasants to protect their village and crops against attacking raiders. This game is recommended for ages 10 and older. The difficulty level is easy, and each game takes about 20 to 45 minutes to play depending on the number of players. The game is intended for 1 to 7 players. This is a cooperative game since all players will be samurai with the common goal of protecting the village. The official solo mode is played by having one player play 2 samurai in a game. An app is not required, and there are no apps available for the game. There is a single mini expansion sold separately that can be shuffled with the boss cards in the base game. This game was inspired by the Kurosawa film Seven Samurai. Antoine Bauza also has designer credits for several other games, including Seven Wonders and Ghost Stories. Now that you've seen a brief introduction to the game, let's get into the game itself. This is a cooperative multiplayer game using a board, cards, and tokens. Dice are not used. Thematically, the game is based on the Japanese film Seven Samurai. Now let's see how the game is won. There is one board depicting the village you'll be defending. The village has 6 farmstead tokens. There are also 3 family tokens. You and your fellow samurai each have a large board depicting your samurai. You will be defending against raiders represented by cards. They will be attempting to destroy the farms and families in the village throughout the game. The game is played in 3 rounds. The game is won if there is at least any one farm token and any one family token remaining at the end of round 3. Now let's look at the components. There is one 12-page color rulebook. There are 7 double-sided samurai game boards, with the front depicting the human side and the back showing the animal spirit side. There are 7 red samurai meeples. There is one counter sheet containing all the counters needed in the game. This includes 7 support tokens, 6 farm tokens, 10 barricade tokens, 3 family tokens, 1 active player marker, and 7 wound tokens. There is 1 village game board and 66 raider cards numbered 1 through 6. Now let's set up the game for the sample playthrough. There are 4 levels of difficulty: easy, normal, hard, and heroic. We will set up the game for the normal difficulty level. We will also set up the game for solo mode, which requires some modifications as described in the rulebook. For solo mode, one player plays 2 samurai and uses the 2-player rules. Since this is a cooperative game, one player can also play up to all 7 samurai. But for the sample playthrough, we'll play the solo version with just 2 samurai. First, we will prepare the village. We place the village game board in the center of the playing area. We then place the 6 farmstead tokens onto the board. Then we place the 3 family tokens onto the board. Finally, we place a number of barricades equal to the number of players plus 2. So in this case, we will place 4 barricades. We can place them anywhere in the barricade spaces. Next, we'll set up the raider cards. There will be 3 areas where cards will be placed around the village. The plunderers will initially be placed face down to the right of the board. The intruders will also be placed face down at the top of the board as we progress through the game. And when cards are discarded, they will be placed face up to the left of the board. Keeping the cards face down, we take all of the cards numbered 1 through 4 and shuffle them. These are the plunderer cards. We then count out a number of these equal to the number of players times 7. For this game, we count out 14 cards and place them face down to the right of the board. We place the remaining plunderer cards back in the game box since they will not be used for the rest of the game. The remaining cards with the 5 value are the lieutenant cards, and the cards with the 6 value are the boss cards. These will be set aside in separate stacks to be incorporated later in the game. Intruder cards will be explained during the playthrough. Finally, we will set up the samurai. We can select two or choose them randomly. We will select these two samurai and place them human side up. We then place the red meeples on the 0 space of the battle track for each samurai. Then the support tokens are placed next to the samurai boards. These represent the unique talent of each samurai. For the solo game, the remaining support tokens are placed nearby to be used in future turns by either samurai. One wound token for each samurai is placed nearby. Finally, the active player token is given to the samurai designated to go first. Now that the village, raider, and samurai have been set up, we are now ready to start the game. Now let's see how the game is played. Recall that we are playing the solo version using the normal level difficulty 2-player rules. The game consists of 3 rounds. During each round, players take turns in a clockwise direction, or they simply alternate if there are only 2 players. This continues until there are no more cards in the raider stack, or each player has dropped out of the round by passing, which is indicated by the red meeple being placed on its side on the samurai board. Now let's review the turn sequence for each player. In the solo version of the game, at the beginning of each turn, a samurai may use one or more of the support tokens of the non-participating samurai. However, these may be used only once each game and are returned to the game box after use. The support tokens of the participating samurai can be used each turn. We will examine these in more detail as we play through the turns. Next, we apply the battle penalty. This refers to the raider cards to the right of the samurai board. Since there are no cards drawn yet, we will move to the next step. The last step is for the samurai to take an action. The samurai can do one of 3 things. First, they can choose to fight. This requires drawing a card from the raider deck. Their second choice is to support a fellow samurai by passing their support token to another player. That player will be able to use that token on their next turn in addition to their own token, but must return the borrowed token at the end of the turn whether or not it was used. Lastly, a samurai can decide not to participate in any further combat for the rest of the round by passing. The samurai's red meeple is placed down on the battle track and the samurai does not participate any further in the current round. For the first turn action, this samurai will decide to fight and draws 1 card from the raider stack. A plunderer with a card value of 2 is drawn. We also see a family symbol in the upper right corner. We have 2 options when fighting after we draw the raider card. We can confront or defend. First, we can confront by placing the raider card to the right of the samurai board. This is known as the combat line. If we do this, then we would move the red meeple to the 2 space on the battle track. Or we could choose to defend. To defend, we look to the symbols on the left side of the samurai board. If the raider card bears a hat, farm, or family symbol, and there is not already another raider card there with the same symbol, then we may defend by placing the current raider card next to that symbol. If any of these 3 symbols are not defended by the end of the round, penalties will be applied depending on the symbol. This raider card has the family symbol, so we will defend by placing the card to the left of the samurai board to match the symbols. Raiders placed on the left side of the board do not affect the battle track, so we do not move the red meeple while defending. We then pass the active player token to the next samurai who starts the next turn sequence. He will not use a common support token on this turn. Since there are no raider cards in his combat line, he does not have to apply a battle penalty. He decides to fight by drawing a raider card. He draws a raider card with a value of 4. Since there is no symbol in the upper right corner of the card, we cannot defend. We then place the raider card on the combat line to the right of the samurai board. We then move the red meeple to the 4 space in the battle track. The number on the battle track will always match the sum of the raider cards in the combat line. A samurai's talent is indicated by a support token. This samurai support token shows that if this samurai chose the fight action, he can carry this out a second time during his turn. We choose not to take a second fight action this turn. We then place the active player token by the first samurai to start the next turn. He chooses not to use a common support token this turn. Since there are no raider cards in his combat line, he does not apply a battle penalty on this turn. For his action, he decides to support his fellow samurai by passing a support token to him. The samurai receiving the support token may use the token during his next turn, but then must return the token whether or not it was used. When using an action to support, You must also remove the topmost card from the raider stack and place it onto the intruder stack at the top of the board, without looking at the card. The intruder cards will be revealed at the end of each round. We move the active player token to start the next turn. This samurai will select the 2-4-6 support token. Next, we apply the battle penalty. This means checking the bottom left of the top raider card in the combat line and applying the penalty pictured. When a raider card does not have a picture here, then no battle penalty will apply. In this case, the battle penalty is to apply a wound token to the samurai. However, the support token that was chosen at the start of the turn allows the samurai to ignore penalties on raider cards that have even values of 2, 4, and 6. This samurai uses the token to negate the battle penalty this turn and places the token back in the box since the common tokens can only be used once per game. This samurai decides to use his action to fight and draws a card from the raider deck. This raider card has a combat value of 1, but also the family symbol in the upper right corner. We can either confront this card by placing it on the combat line to the right of the samurai board, or defend by placing it to the left of the board. We decide to defend and place it to the left of the board matching the family symbols. The borrowed support token allows the samurai to discard a drawn raider card whose value is identical to that of another card in the combat line. Since that option was not applicable this turn, we return the support token to the original samurai. We move the active player token back to the first samurai to start the next turn. He does not use a common support token this turn. He does not have to apply a battle penalty since he has no cards in his combat line. For his action, he draws a raider card with a combat value of 3 and the family symbol in the upper right of the card. Since he already has a family symbol covered on the left side of the board, he cannot defend against this card. He must then place the card in his combat line and move his red meeple to the 3 position. We now begin the next samurai's turn. He does not use any common support tokens. Next, he must apply the battle penalty if applicable. If there are raider cards to the right of the samurai board, then the penalty depicted on the bottom left of the topmost card is applied. Not all cards have penalties. This card has the wound penalty. We must then apply 1 wound token to this samurai. He decides to fight as his action and draws a raider card with a value of 2. This card has no symbol in the upper right corner, so it cannot be defended against on the left side of the board. It is placed on the right side in the combat line on top of the current card. The red meeple is moved 2 spaces down to the 6th space. Keep in mind that the value indicated by the red meeple on the battle track is equal to the sum of the battle values of the raiders. This number can increase or decrease as cards are added or removed. Play proceeds to the next samurai to start another turn. The topmost raider card on the right side of the board has a battle value of 3. This samurai will elect to use the 1-3-5 support token, which allows him to ignore penalties on raider cards that have odd values. We then discard the support token for the rest of the game and ignore the battle penalty for this turn. We move to the action step and this samurai chooses to fight. He draws a raider card with a battle value of 1. There is a family symbol in the upper right corner of the card, but since this symbol is already occupied on the left side of the board, he must place it on top of the combat line and advance his red meeple 1 space on the battle track. The next samurai starts his turn. He does not select any support tokens for this turn. Next, he must apply the battle penalty shown on the topmost raider card in the combat line. This battle penalty indicates that 1 barricade is destroyed in the village. We started the game with 4 barricades. The number will vary depending on the number of players in each game. We remove 1 barricade from the village board. If there were no barricades remaining, we'd have to remove 1 farm token instead. This concludes the sample turns. These examples should give you a good overview of the flow of the game. In summary, we reviewed how support tokens and the samurai talents are used, how to apply a battle penalty, how to fight the raiders by confronting or defending, how to use the battle track, when to apply wounds, and how the samurai can support each other during a turn. We will now review the rules for additional wounds and ki, then conclude with the steps to complete at the end of each round. During a round, a samurai can sustain 1 to 4 wounds. When a samurai sustains a wound, the wound token is placed on the samurai board. If the samurai sustains a second wound, the wound counter is removed and the samurai board is flipped over to the animal side. The animal side provides a stronger battle track and ki power, which will be explained in the next section. Any raider cards to the left or right of the samurai board remain in place, and the red meeple is placed back on the battle track according to the total value of the combat line. If the animal side receives a wound, then the wound token is placed back onto the samurai board. If a fourth wound is received, then the samurai is defeated and the game is lost for all samurai. No more than one wound token will be placed on the samurai board at any time. And once the animal spirit side is unleashed, the samurai board remains that way for the rest of the game. If the samurai has a wound at the end of the round, it remains there for the next round. Every samurai possesses a special power called ki, which is shown at the bottom of each side of the samurai board. Whenever the red meeple reaches the ki value exactly on either side of the board, you have the option of activating the ki power immediately. This particular ki power allows this samurai to remove the last card from any samurai's combat line and place it on the discard pile. This includes his own combat line. The ki on the animal side allows him to do this twice. The red meeple on the battle track is adjusted accordingly. Even if you choose not to use your ki power, you can still remove the top card from your own combat line and place it on the discard pile while adjusting your battle track. Each samurai has a unique ki power as described in the rulebook. Play continues until the end of the round. There are a total of 3 rounds in the game. The current round ends when the last card of the raider deck is drawn and played, or when both samurai have passed, whichever occurs first. If all samurai pass before all the raider cards have been drawn and played, any remaining raider cards are placed face down on top of the intruder stack. At the end of a round, each samurai will perform the following steps in order. If there was no card placed by the hat symbol to defend it, the samurai receives 1 wound. If no card was placed next to the farm symbol, then 1 farmstead is removed from the village. If no family symbol was matched with a raider card, then 1 random family token is removed from the village. The surviving family tokens are turned over to show their bonuses, which include reinstalling a barricade, discarding an intruder card, and removing a wound. In this example, the family symbol was defended, so all 3 family symbols would provide bonuses this turn. We then reveal cards one by one from the intruder stack. For each card that shows flames on the bottom right, 1 barricade is removed from the village board. If there are no barricades remaining, then 1 farmstead is destroyed instead. Intruder cards with no flames have no effect and are discarded. If there is at least 1 farmstead and 1 family remaining, then play proceeds to round 2. The red meeple is set to 0 on the samurai battle track, and any wound counters would remain on the samurai boards. All raider cards are collected from the intruder stack, discard stack, and the samurai boards. For each samurai, 1 lieutenant card with a 5 value is drawn, and then shuffled into the raider stack for round 2. At the end of round 2, if there are still at least 1 farmstead and 1 family, you would perform the same procedures. But instead of drawing the 5 value lieutenant cards, you would draw a 6 value boss card for each samurai, and then shuffle the boss cards into the raider stack. If there are still at least 1 farmstead and 1 family remaining at the end of round 3, the players win the game. So let's review the victory and loss conditions. There is only one way to win the game. There must be at least 1 farmstead and 1 family remaining in the village at the end of round 3, which is the final round of the game. Players lose if there are no farmsteads or families remaining at the end of any round. Players also lose if any one samurai sustains 4 wounds at any time before the end of the game. This concludes this review of Samurai Spirit. Visit us at these sites and don't forget to leave a comment about your experience with this game, or let us know what game you'd like to see reviewed next. And if you'd like to experience something more exciting than unleashing your animal spirit on sandal-wearing raiders, stick around for our disclaimer. Coming up next.